Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our special presentation honoring Black history. I'm Mike Kretz.
And I'm Antonio Clark.
Tonight we're going to be sharing stories aimed at honoring Black history from our country's past and also share some discussions about the direction that we're headed.
Our first story this evening comes from the Front Range of Colorado. Our country's first black soldiers, known as Buffalo Soldiers, have all passed away. The last original Buffalo Soldier died in 2005, but there is a group dedicated to preserving the stories and memories of Buffalo Soldiers who roamed the West. Shawl Turner has their story.
Riding hard and riding fast.
Riding hard and riding fast.
I hope this food is gonna last.
Their shows canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic.
I was the only one to make it out, I'm sure.
But they will ride again.
The officer would say, "First Sergeant, bring me a tune." And he'd go, "Whoa, whoa." My name is Fred APPLEWHITE, and I am the first sergeant of the Buffalo Soldiers of the American West.
Regimental Sergeant.
I am the lieutenant of the Buffalo Soldiers M Troop.
Dedicated to sharing the story of the 10th Cavalry Regiment of the United States Army, formed in 1866 after the Civil War.
We were finding out our history that was left out of the history books.
I impersonate Kathy Williams, who was the only documented female Buffalo Soldier.
The white officers actually got a little bump in their rank by taking a African-American regiment, so some of them were motivated by the pay, others were motivated by the message and the mission.
Many times when they went into battle, black soldiers and white soldiers back then would fight side by side. That's called survival.
The oldest surviving Buffalo Soldier, Mark Matthews, was born in 1894. He died at the age of 111 and was buried at Arlington National Cemetery in 2005. His memory honored by this troop, created by Denver Public School educators.
I'm a high school teacher at Thomas Jefferson High School.
A rodeo bull rider.
First Sergeant Kenneth Johnson.
And others teaching a story to the world with a message for all times.
I think if we learned the shared history and the shared hardships, I think that could propel us beyond some of the arguments and debates that we have today.
That was absolutely fantastic. These soldiers hope one day students will continue their legacy.
The Buffalo Soldiers was not just black history. They are part of American history.
Shawl Turner, Channel 2 News.
Hey, here's something our community knows plenty about. Of course, I'm talking about wine. This is about how several African Americans are making the wine world their own, including a New Yorker who has established perhaps the largest black-owned wine brand in America. Ken Boddie has the story.
All these wines that are in this room, when you look around, they all tell someone's story. It tells a story about a place, about the people who made it. For me, it's always a legacy.
ANDRÉ MACK is living his legacy, creating wines for the masses and leading the way for African Americans in the wine industry.
It's not just an upper crust thing for you, is it?
No, not at all. I think everybody should enjoy wine, right? It's not reserved for just the elite. You know, I grew up on, hip hop, skateboarding, punk rock, and being able to put all those things and fuse them together makes it very enjoyable for me.
ANDRÉ MACK's New York State of Wine extends all the way across the country. Maison Noir wines are actually produced here in Oregon's Willamette Valley, one of America's premier winemaking regions. Mouton Noir, or Black Sheep wine, started in 2007. Now named Maison Noir, they are shipped to nearly every state and throughout the world, especially popular in Sweden and Southeast Asia. Near his home in Brooklyn, he owns a wine shop, a ham and charcuterie bar, and a bakery.
Where do you want to take this in the future? Do you have plans beyond what you're doing right now?
I'm just in a space of I want to build things and create stuff.
With a bottle of wine always nearby. Ken Boddie, Portland, Oregon.
Much like our country's history begins in the New England area, so does the unfortunate truths of slavery. In Rhode Island, one organization is bringing stories of slavery straight to your cell phone. Chelsea Jones has the story.
The journey starts right here with a QR code on each medallion. It unlocks the history of Rhode Island and its use of slave labor. Patriots Park is home to the first QR-coded slave medallion. It's a symbol here in Portsmouth, honoring the land where the first United States integrated army fought in the Battle of Rhode Island.
And how they were used was like indentured servants.
Here's how the medallion works. You take your phone, open the camera, and then hover over the code. It will then take you to this website, revealing what each city's role was in slavery.
It was a necessity to have slaves.
Slaves were captured from their tribes in Africa, brought to our ports in Rhode Island, and then used in the process of creating rum, a big industry here back in the 1700s and 1800s.
We're trying to tell the unvarnished truth.
Charles Roberts, executive director of the Rhode Island Slave History Medallion, says without slaves, the ocean state wouldn't exist as we know it. So now these medallions serve as a link to a painful past in hopes of a brighter future. Roberts says the next step is to make sure there is intergenerational knowledge, so he plans to take this project into the classrooms next. In Portsmouth, Rhode Island, I'm Chelsea Jones.
Hey, for honoring Black History Month, we want to bring you not just stories from around the country, but right here too. And there's a man who's certainly making history, not just on the field, but in the community. Coach Tremaine Jackson has been the head football coach at Colorado Mesa for a year. The first African-American head football coach at Mesa and one of just 9 black head coaches out of 143 non-HBCU football programs.
Honored on one end, very disappointed on the other end, because I know I'm not that good to be one of those 9. I know that there are a lot of people well before me and currently coaching that are African American that should have the same opportunity. And so we're working every day to put a product out there where people can continue to look at guys that look like me and give them opportunities like I have.
The opportunity even he wasn't always afforded.
I don't know if they set out to hire a black coach or not. All I know is I set out to compete and I was able to win in an interview. And I think CMU and President Foster should be the example of what black people want. We just want an opportunity to compete and then let the chips fall where they may. But I know when I walked out of his office, I felt like I had a chance to win. When most cases, I've been in some other offices where I knew I wasn't gonna win, and I predominantly knew that because of the color of my skin.
The color of skin. In 2021, you'd hope we'd be past prejudice, but if the summer of 2020 taught us anything, we're not. With the issue of race and policing at the forefront of the American psyche, Coach Jackson was not prepared to stand by on the sideline. On the contrary.
I tell people all the time I prayed for an opportunity like this. Didn't know it was going to come on here on the Western Slope. Didn't know it was going to come at CMU. I certainly didn't know what happened over the summer with George Floyd and just the many other incidents that we saw, including, involving police brutality or just systemic racism. Didn't know that was going to happen. But when it happened, I felt like I was prepared to say something. I felt like I needed to say something, and I felt like I needed to get this community to realize what's going on outside of this community as well.
What happened was anger towards law enforcement practices reaching a boiling point, a tipping point, really, during a march that ended at the Grand Junction Police Department. A seemingly unlikely partnership was forged.
People don't know this, but Chief Shoemaker probably had as big an issue as I had with everything that he saw being in law enforcement and seeing how things were done, and they don't do things like that here at GJPD. He doesn't believe in policing the wrong way, and so he made a statement on Twitter, and I saw his statement, and I knew instantly we needed to connect because of what we were bringing here, the type of guys that we were bringing to this community that didn't look like this community. So it was really cool. He approached his officers and his department in making some changes there.
Hey, stick around. We're not done with our conversation with Coach. Coming up later.
Yeah, they've been uncomfortable. They've been really uncomfortable, but they've been welcome. A lot of people say that they want to be an ally. We don't need allies. We need people that want to change the issue.
Hear why Coach Jackson welcomes uncomfortable conversations and the changes they can produce right here on Honoring Black History.